Okay, now we would like to welcome Laura Lopez. Laura is an undocumented DACA grantee, and she's a law student at Pennsylvania State University, Dickinson School of Law. She was born in Valle de San Diego, Mexico, and was raised in Napa, California since her arrival in 1989 at the age of 1. So let's welcome Lara.
Buenos días. Good morning. Brevemente daré el mensaje de lo que voy a decir en inglés porque el mensaje va a ser para la comunidad en particular. Hoy estaré invitando a la comunidad de mayor presencia, a la comunidad blanca, a que se una de manera activa a la causa por los derechos de inmigrantes. Le haré la invitación a que piensen en todas las maneras en las que pueden ser aliados para lograr los cambios de leyes de inmigración, y que después de pensar en cómo hacerle, tomen acción. No tenemos que esperar a que sea un demócrata en la Casa Blanca para que tengamos los cambios en las leyes. No es ni será fácil lograr los cambios, pero tenemos muchas herramientas para hacerlo, tanto como votar. Así que si no se han hecho ciudadanos, ahora es el momento. Si no se han registrado, ahora es el momento. Hacer llamadas a los congresistas, marchar y también participar en desobediencia civil si sienten la obligación moral de hacerlo. Some of you may know me as Juan and Maria's daughter from Las Palmas. Some of you have met me for the first time through community organizing. My family's civic engagement manifests through their voting because they are citizens. As Edith said, I am undocumented, so I serve my civic duty by advocating, and yes, by having done civil disobedience. 28 years ago, my parents and I migrated from Mexico to Napa. I attended Head Start, went on to Bel Air, but graduated from Pueblo Vista, then Redwood and Vintage. I graduated UC Santa Cruz in 2009, and last year in May, I graduated from Penn State Law School. Okay. So while I am undocumented, my goal as an immigration attorney is to help the community with remedies that exist now and to continue fighting for the remedies that don't yet exist. I share these scholastic accomplishments no longer to prove that I merit a green card, but to underscore that I am a part of the community. I have grown up here, but there are so many more undocumented people who are part of this community, have deep roots at varying degrees. So I'm going to outline what civic engagement has looked like for me and give a summary of the most recent immigration policies and laws. I organized in college to pass immigration reform and to pass the DREAM Act. But for the bombing of the World Trade Center, the original DREAM Act organizers thought that they had the votes to pass the law in 2001. But here we are, still working to pass laws that protect immigrants. I hope this is one of the reasons why you are here too, and not to demonize immigrants or put us into merit-based categories. Many organized and did groundwork before me, but in 2010, undocumented youth, including myself, first engaged in civil disobedience. We demanded that Democrat Senate Majority Leader bring the DREAM Act to a vote. We did this because we learned from the civil rights movement, from SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee organizers and leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We learned that our civic engagement manifests through our lobbying, our phone banking, taking to the streets, and even disobeying laws. Congress and then President Johnson heard the civil rights organizers and signed the Civil Rights Act because of this organizing. My generation learned through our history books, but we put it into practice, that we too could help make this country better. The civil rights movement is a testament that there is strength and solidarity between communities that are directly affected and the allies who support us. So in 2010, although we failed to pass this legislative change, we regrouped and re-energized. Many more went on to march, lobby, and protest, laying their freedom on the line, including citizen fellow classmates of mine. One organizer, Ju Hong, born in South Korea, still undocumented, having been beneficiary of DACA, stood on stage and proclaimed to then President Obama that he had the executive authority to exercise deferred action, to grant us the ability to remain here while something was done. But it wasn't until civil disobedience sit-ins in his re-election offices that we got DACA. So we need to pressure on both sides of the aisle. As of last Friday, we still have this policy, but it's stuck in court. So no, I don't think it's audacious to engage in civil disobedience. It may seem like a nuisance, but ask yourself whether you can gauge the modicum of discomfort for why a person would risk their freedom for a movement community at large. Civil disobedience is a demonstration of the fervor with which we seek change to unjust laws. It is unjust to have static laws that don't move with our community. So by committing ourselves to legacy organizing tools and holding our officials accountable, we can make this change. Reportedly, 12,000 fellow Napans are undocumented. By other accounts, upwards of 15,000. And not everyone came here as a child or had the opportunity to go to high school and college. Yet we make Napa what it is today, the collective. We may petition the government to save temporary protective status for communities like from Haiti, El Salvador, Honduras, for people from countries devastated by war, earthquakes, and the manifestation of global warming like droughts, famine, and hurricanes. But knowing of TPS and DACA policies and demanding their reinstatement is not enough. Our foremost demand is to integrate these policies into law and reform the Immigration and Nationality Act. In our two-party system, the people's groundwork is necessary to push whomever is in power, no matter who is in the White House. We need to do better. We as Napa residents, whether citizen or undocumented, must fully embrace the First Amendment to change these static immigration laws and move the electeds in the right direction, regardless of who's in control. Because yes, even as undocumented Napans and those of us who may be citizens, we are all protected by the US Constitution's First Amendment. And together as a collective, we must exercise that right. We have the right to assemble, the right to free speech, the right to petition the government. We must assemble like we do today, but show up for each other every day, whether at rapid response calls, to observe due process, because immigration could be at your neighbor's door. If you don't know about the Napa Rapid Response Network, check them out. The right to free speech so that we can proclaim no human being is illegal. But also make those phone banking calls to demand that your coworker be released from a detention center. We have the right to petition the government to protect rather than deport our fellow neighbors. So in closing, I invite you to engage in praxis, this ongoing cycle between reflection and action. Reflect on the organizing methods and tools that we have learned, like today, your manifestation. Take action however you can. I will not tell you how to do it, but do it. You can vote, phone bank, lobby, volunteer with rapid response, and should you feel compelled, engage in civil disobedience.
We love you. We love you. This is for you. Thank you so much.